So we'll be in touch, and it might be that Patty Howell will be in touch with Black Creek Park.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have 6:30 by Kitty's watch. 5:30, excuse me, I'm old time. So bow our heads in a moment of silence before we start the public forum. Amen. I want to welcome everybody to the public forum. It's an opportunity for folks to ask the commissioners questions and to have some dialogue with the commissioners. When we get to our regular meeting at 6 o'clock, it's a chance for y'all to observe a meeting going on. There are 2 opportunities in that for public comment, and we'll announce those when we get to them. Commissioners, you've seen the agenda for the public forum. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Blake. Do I have a second? Second from Commissioner Alexander. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor of adopting the agenda as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. Floor is open for public comment.
Don't forget to turn on your mics.
Okay.
This one on? Yeah. Tom Friss, 98 Friss Road. I just wanted to ask about, I'm so pleased that finally the bridge is coming up, you know, and we're getting that done. But I'd love to see what's happening with the rest of it, the park, the Billy and Ruth Graham Park. Are we going to do that, the Memorial Park and the bridge, or is that something it's in phases or that's hasn't been voted on? I know it hadn't been voted on, but what is the process for using that area and setting it up and having a beautiful big boulder with a plaque on it and benches and picnics and things like that, and naming it the Ruth and Billy Graham Park?
Thank you, Tom. Tom, the park, talking about the park, is sort of like putting the cart before the horse. We don't have a bridge, there's a new bridge, there's really no need to talk about the park yet. But I think after the bridge is in and completed and so forth, then the commissioners will start to have discussions about what it is folks want and what the park ought to look like, or if there's going to be a park. So let us get the bridge finished, and then it's taken us long enough to do that. So let us get that done, then we'll go on from there. Any other commissioners have any comments?
Well, as you know, I've been interested in that park for a while or something, and when the plans, the preliminary kind of plan sort of structure that came out with a little bit of whimsy and fun things in there and places for children and people to explore and have some time. I'm still interested, and I know we'll be looking at it.
I am as well, Tom. It's just we barely got enough money to go where we're going with the bridge first. So we don't have any money to spend on the park yet. We got to get the bridge, as the mayor said, and then we'll go from there.
Anyone?
But don't take that as a bad sign. Just don't take that as a bad sign. Take it as we've got to do things in phases.
Could I make another comment?
If it's about government moving slow, we know that.
We agree.
No, it just seems to me that, I mean, it doesn't seem to me a big investment for the park. And it's, in all this time, we could have already had the park without the bridge. And it's been a long time since nothing's been done. We've had several possibilities of ideas about naming something after Billy and Ruth. And anyway, I just think it's something that we could do very quickly to get it started if people were.
It would take money, Tom. We're going to approve a
Yeah.
contract tonight for a very
Okay.
small, simple bridge
Okay,
with an upside, it was 71,000 for a lot of money, just
Yeah.
to do the engineering and design. So
yeah,
it's,
I understand that. I've been part of that process. And I feel for you because it's been a long time. And
If you'd like to
and I
make it the
thank you.
Tom Frist Memorial Park in honor of Billy and Ruth Graham.
No, he will be long gone. He won't care at that.
Savannah's got a pen if you're ready to sign the check.
I would say too, Tom, that I don't think we want to put a park up and then have them come in and put the bridge, because that would tear the park up.
Okay. Yes, sir. Eric Nichols.
Eric Nichols, 527 Sewanee Drive. I would like to know what the process is for dealing with runoff and/or any other things that seem like they aren't right when houses are being built. I could name two pretty egregious places in terms of the amount of runoff that has happened. And it goes right into our creeks and all over the place. And so I just like to know what the process is and who's doing it.
So to report a suspected violation, you would need to contact Kayla or myself.
Okay.
And she would look into it, or our building inspector, Dan Cordell, would look into it. We do have stormwater regulations in place, post-construction and all of that. But,
Sure.
it's something that we pay attention to and we try to catch. But it's hard to catch everything, especially with Kayla and Dan not being full-time staff. So
Right.
if you think that there's a problem, let us know and we'll check it out and make sure that everything's being done according to what's been permitted and appropriately according to our ordinances.
And if it was a neighbor, would you prefer that I contact the neighbor first?
It just
Not
depends
living
on
here?
if that's what you feel comfortable with, that's
Yeah.
fine, but it's not necessary. Yeah.
Okay, and then, okay, well, that answers the question well. And the other thing I'd like to say, thank you very much for all that you do for us.
Thanks, Eric. Who's next? Maury? A couple of years ago, I didn't know this lady until she served forever on our comprehensive planning committee and got to know her quite well.
And it was my pleasure. Apologize for coming in late. I almost missed this because I was working on something and it was 5:30 when I left my house and I had to write everything down on my hands. I have 4 things, but they're all very short, and only one of them requires immediate action. First thing is bears. I know you've heard this 5 million times. I'm used to where I live having lots of bears get into the garbage cans because all the houses around me are all rentals and people don't pay attention too much. But yesterday morning, I woke up, walked out on my deck, and about 8 feet from me, in a very large wild cherry, was the young bear that we all know that I personally call Young Yogi. He ruined my tree. He was trying to get the berries out of it and everything, and I was going to try to get in touch with Daniel to see because doesn't he know about trees? Isn't he an arborist? To know whether I can even save it, because that bear, I've never seen a small bear be able to do that much damage to a tree in maybe an hour, because he had been at it before I got there. And he doesn't care a thing about me. He really is totally unafraid. I've just gotten my horn that I'm going to do at him next time. So that was one thing that I just wanted to bring up, that not only the garbage, but now we've got trees being destroyed. Okay, poop bags. I know that y'all were going to talk about dog cleanup and all of that sort of thing, but one thing I wanted to ask about, or at least put in y'all's minds, is the fact that, and I don't even know how we would address it, my garbage can is full of people's poop bags. And I get so tired of people just walking by and thinking they can put their poop bags anywhere. I can't climb down in a bag, in a can, to get my poop bags out. I've got, you know, the gripper things. But it's very, very annoying that people come by. And I hate to say it, but the worst ones are the conferees. They walk by my house all the time. And college students, they walk by too. And I've seen them do it to others. I know they do it to me. So don't know how you would address it, but just wanted to bring that up.
Can I comment on that, Mark?
Yes.
I think I agree. I think we all deal with that issue. I'll tell you how I deal with it. I have 2 clasps on my box, and one of them I put a combination, or actually a keyed lock on it, and leave it during the week and take it off on Monday morning. I remove it, of course, when I put my own stuff in, but I do that during the summer because of what you just described. So that may be a quick fix.
Well,
not
I've
a
already,
long-term.
believe it or not, I've already done that.
Well, how can they open it then and put it in?
Because they put it in apparently on Mondays when I have my trash in there. The trashmen pull the trash out and all of the rest of the stuff falls to the bottom. But I do have a keyed lock on my garbage can, mainly because the bears learned how to open my can, so I had to put a lock on it for the bears to begin with. Okay, speed. Speed. I know that I work down at the gate every summer at the visitor center, and people going through the gate, I have to close the door on the side of the gate because it's so noisy with people going through speeding. And I know that we just had the gate hit again. And as sorry as I am, at least if the speed limit through the gate were lowered, the chances of serious damage might be lessened. So I just wanted to bring that up, not only with that, but the fact that on my road, which I've talked with Tim about too, is the fact that my road is kind of the secondary main drag between the gate and on into Montreat. And people are they just speed down my road. I've put up my own "please slow down" sign, and people just kind of wave and go right on by speeding. And I just wanted to bring that up because I think speed in Montreat is something that we're going to have to address at some point. And the last thing I wanted to mention also has to do with traffic, and I wouldn't have thought of it if it hadn't happened to me just on my way down here when I was busting myself trying to get here on time. I live on Alabama, and you know that Virginia comes like this and then goes up the hill, and Alabama comes in right here. The stop sign is at the end of Alabama. Alabama can see either direction. But these 2 cars that were stopped right here couldn't tell which way to go because they can't see which way to go. I think the stop sign should be up here and not on Alabama, where you've got a straight shot. So any questions? That's it.
You want it still on Alabama?
No, I'd like for it to be on Virginia, because then they can stop, because they can't see around the curve. Alabama can see going both directions. But if it's here, or here, frankly, then they would have to stop to be able to see. I've seen cars come around, and either people were walking or they were in a car, and it was very, it was kind of precarious because the cars would come around, not even going really fast, but just not able to see what was around the corner. And they would be really close to another car or even a person. So that's why I think it should be on Alabama.
We'll have Savannah ask the police chief to look at that. and see
Okay.
what we can come up with. Thanks,
Okay.
Maury.
Thank you.
Okay, you can wash your hand now. Anyone else? Any other public comment? Any other questions for the commissioners? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn until 6 o'clock when we have our regular meeting. I have a motion from Commissioner Widmer. Do I have a second?
A second.
I have a second from Grant. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned until 6 o'clock. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I have 6 o'clock on my watch, so if we will stand and face the flag and together say the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll bow our heads in a moment of silence before we start the meeting, please. Amen. Commissioners, you've seen the agenda. The only item we're going to adjust tonight before I ask you to adopt the agenda is that we're going to drop item D, the internal control policy. One of the commissioners has made several suggestions that are very good, and we need to look at those suggestions before we go any further with it. So do I have a motion to adopt the agenda with the exclusion of item D, the internal control policy? Have a motion from Commissioner Fouché. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Alexander. Any discussion or questions about any of those items? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I want to introduce a couple of people. Tim Bradley. Tim, if you'd stand up, this is our interim police chief. And he will be with us until sometime in September when we make the permanent hire. And Chief, I do appreciate you being here and helping us put some order in the department and so forth. Yes, sir. And Olivia, would you please stand up? This is Officer Eads, Olivia Eads, and you'll see her a lot in the daytime, and she does a great job for us. And Brandon, I'm not going to ask you to stand, but a lot of people are probably wondering, who's this guy sitting over here to my left? And that's Brandon Thomas, the town attorney. We'll have a town attorney at most all of our meetings. You want to cover the consent agenda?
Sure. So on our consent agenda, we just have meeting minutes adoption. It's the June 18th special meeting minutes, July 11th public forum meeting minutes, and July 11th town council meeting minutes. Yes.
I've got amendments to each of those
Okay.
Minutes. With respect to the special meeting minutes of June 18th, it has 3 paragraphs that I'll hand you the language I'd like to be dropped. The language reads, and this language was never stated in the meeting. It was simply in a document that the engineer for the owner had prepared. And it says the onus of correcting the stream bank is on the town, as the stream bank is located within the hatch green area of the green space agreement. Should the stream bank continue to deteriorate, any liability associated with the failure of the stream bank will likely be attributable to the town, given that there's an existing residence on the property and that it is actively under threat from the failure. The likelihood of the town facing liability for impacts for the failure is high. I don't know that any of those are the engineer's statements, certainly not our council statements. I don't know that anything of those things are true. The town's never done anything to that stream. Stream is failing and deteriorating, but we didn't place the house there. The homeowner did. So I don't mean to dispute it, and I frankly, I should have brought it up last month, but I didn't want to appear critical. But in terms of it being in our minutes, it could be construed as an admission. And certainly, we're not going to admit any liability whatsoever. So I'd like that deleted from the minutes. Secondly, in the minutes of the public forum, and I say this having arrived here at 5 o'clock today rather than 5:30 myself and missed the time, and I've mentioned this to Angie, you had 6:30 and 6:34 as the times rather than 5:30 and 5:34. Then the last, and then 7 o'clock also in the regular board meeting minutes. And then a couple of typos, Angie, that I'll give to you, and that's it. Okay.
Thank you. The only other thing I have is an announcement. We have made the selection for our police chief. Jeff Eaton will be our new chief. He's going to start the first week of September. Really excited to have Jeff. He has over 30 years of law enforcement experience. He's worked in pretty much every imaginable facet of the department. He was with Buncombe County Sheriff's Office for many years. So I'm really excited to have him on board, and more to come on that, but just wanted to make that known to the public. And that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Savannah. Commissioners, you've received reports on the administration, planning and zoning, police, public works and water, sanitation, streets, finance for June, and finance for July, and the July building permit information. Are there any questions or comments on any of those reports?
I like the new format of the police report. It really shows us what's going on.
I echo that.
I do too. Thank you for cleaning it up. And secondly, I would like to commend the staff for a year of $226,000 of net income. We know that it may not end up being that, but you guys worked hard at both cost control and other expense control, so thank you.
I have one thing. I noticed that the trash and recycling, well, the tipping fees have gone up and the dumpster rental and all that, while it looks like the collection that we're doing has gone down. So is that because of our convenience station is getting more and more garbage?
I think so, and I'll let Barry, yes, so Barry's shaking his head. That is
that
correct,
it?
yes.
The only thing I'd say too on that particular report, can you put the units down on those last two items? Trash, 6.9 what? And convenience center recycle, 5.83 what?
So that's in tons, but we'll add those to future reports, no problem.
It's nice to see citations noted on the report.
Any other questions or comments on those reports? All right, hearing none, we'll go to item 7, public comment. The floor is open for public comment. Seeing no one approach the microphone, we'll go to item 8, which is old business civil design concepts proposal for Texas Road Pedestrian Bridge. Savannah Parrish is the presenter.
Yes, so this is not your first time seeing this contract, but this is improved. So CDC was open to making some changes based off the discussion we had last month. Mayor Pro Tem Blake provided some comments for them. There is a typo under client responsibilities, that's section 2, client responsibilities. The last sentence of the first paragraph needs to be removed. That sentence is completely replaced by the second paragraph. That's just a typo. We'll get it taken care of. And because we just got this in hand yesterday, there may be other minor changes. I think our attorney would like to remove some language that specifically the word indemnify from the contract. So, but nothing substantive will be changed. So other than that, this is what you've seen before. And this contract is not to exceed $71,000, and that's for engineering design of Texas Road Bridge.
Do I have a motion to approve the civil design concepts of proposal for Texas Road Pedestrian Bridge
So
with
moved.
the adjustments to be made by our attorneys and the removal of the last sentence of the first paragraph? Does that cover it, Savannah? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion from Commissioner Alexander. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Mayor Pro Tem Blake. Any further discussions or questions? Tom?
Thanks. On page 29 of the packet, number 1 under D, construction observation, attend construction meetings as requested, including required pre-construction monthly and other meetings. I mean, there's lots of categories there, but the estimated number of meetings is one?
So from what I understand, and I may ask Barry to come up if I can't answer this appropriately, but I'm just going to look at you. So from what I understand, these are only kind of as requested type meetings to make sure that construction is meeting appropriate markers, that they're staying on the timetable that they provided, and anything else I need to add to that? So we would be initiating that, and I don't think Barry anticipates that we'll need a lot of help.
Now, like she said, it's gonna be as requested. I'm sure Jesse's gonna wanna meet with the, bridge committee to kind of get some ideas from there. But that should be the only one that he will really, have to be at. And the rest of them will be phone conversations, is what I'm hoping to do.
Don't sit down yet. One of the things that was confusing to me was that, for one, because what happens if there's more than one meeting? And then likewise, the hourly rates are listed there, yet at the bottom of page 31 is the statement that you just said, and that is, shall not under any circumstances exceed $71,000. So if we call him out here for another meeting, is that part of the 71,000, or is that part of the principal engineer at $240 per hour?
That's going to fall under the $71,000.
I would like to say that would fall under that $71,000, yes, sir.
So he is, and they've done this enough to anticipate about what they're going to be looking at, I think, for the hourly rates, but we will not be giving CDC more than $71,000 for a service unless something, really drastic changes and we have to come back with a new contract or something along those lines.
And I would like to think earlier in the project, we're gonna be able to foresee a major change. Because like I say, the bridge is gonna be pre-made deal. It's gonna be in our excavation of the, removal of the bridge, removal of the abutments, and installation of the footers. That's where, if we're gonna see something major, that's where I would think we would see it. So it would be early on in the project for something like that.
And I also noted that on page 29 in the section F, geotechnical exploration, it says through a qualified subconsultant, they will provide subsurface exploration. Is that qualified subconsultant included in the 71,000?
Yes.
Yes, sir. And we've used them before. They do provide a reasonable rate, so that'll be in there.
Thanks.
Any other comments or questions? We have a motion, have a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hallelujah. Montfreet Tamara Comprehensive Plan Implementation Tracker.
Yes, so I don't have any comment on this. This is just information for you all, for the public, something that Kayla put together just to let everyone know that the comprehensive plan is still on the top of our list. We're getting things implemented and kind of what the timeline looks like and where different projects fall on the priority list from high, medium to low.
Tell her how much I appreciate her doing that.
I will, yes.
Keeping track of it. Do what? It's a great tool. It is. I mean, if you don't track it, you look back several months and you've already missed a timeline or an opportunity to do something. All right, we move on to new business. Item 9, ratify the resolution for stream bank stabilization at 515 South Carolina Terrace. We've already approved this, but we needed to have a resolution, right?
That's right. So I just need you all to vote on this. You agreed to go ahead and allow us to send that in for the grant. That grant does look pretty promising, so hopefully there will be more to come on that, but this is just something that the state requires, and it's taken directly from them.
Okay, do I have a motion to ratify a resolution for stream bank stabilization at 515 to South Carolina Terrace?
I'll move to ratify a resolution for stream bank stabilization at 515 South Carolina Terrace.
I have a motion from Commissioner Fouché. Do we have a second?
A second.
Have a second from Brad. Grant. I'm sorry, Grant.
It's okay.
I've fallen asleep over here. Have a motion, have a second. Do I have any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pet waste ordinance, Savannah?
Oh, we skipped contract to audit accounts. We skipped item B, contract to audit accounts.
I did fall asleep.
It's okay.
All right, Savannah, you want to present that?
I would love to. So this is, this would be a contract with Carter. This is the same firm we used last year. The amount would be $28,400. I think they did a very good job for us last year, although we were just a tiny bit late. They say that we will not be late this year. So, but I think now that we have our new software in place, Rachel has now been through a full audit on her own. So I think we're in a very good position. They did a good job. They're very responsive. And this is actually a very slight decrease in price from last year, which I love to see. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Just a comment for everybody's information. This whole form is basically a form required by the Department of Community, whatever. It's just, we filled in the blanks, so this isn't the accountant's contract. It's a state-required form.
Except for the letter from them.
The letter's different, but the contract itself.
That's right. Yes.
That's right.
And I did have a question, and it's only because of my ignorance of this area, but on page 7 of their letter, which is packet page 53, I found it interesting that the first sentence in the first paragraph says the audit documentation for this engagement is the property of Carter PC. I guess that's probably standard, but I'm surprised that it is their property and not ours.
You know, I'm kind of surprised too, but that, you know, they, of course, they provide us with all of the information, but yeah, that would be standard, I guess. Do you have any comment on that? Does that give you any heartburn?
No, this is super standard to me. They do promise to abide by North Carolina's public records law, which I think is important, but that they're retaining ownership over their intellectual property, I don't think is super surprising. As long as they are treating the record as a public record, I don't see any problems.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion regarding the contract?
I'll move approval of the contract with the auditors.
I have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Blake. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Widmer. Any further discussion and or questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. Now, the pet waste ordinance. Savannah?
Yes, so this is just for discussion only, and what I did was I went and stole an ordinance from another town in North Carolina that I thought was decent, and I just wanted to give you something tangible to look at and get some feedback from you on ways that you might want to see this expanded, ways that you would want to change it, but I just thought that it would be helpful to have something to spark conversation and get us thinking about what we'd like to see. It does address, or I believe it addresses, throwing the pet waste bags into other people's trash cans and things like that, that would come with a fine. So it's something that I think would be valuable to have public input on, as well as comments and thoughts from the commission.
All right, Commissioners, have you had a chance to review it, and are there any comments or
My only comment
suggestions?
is I don't think it does, Savannah, and I don't think it prohibits throwing dog feces in someone else's trash can. And I'm actually going to bring up in my comments, we don't have anything else. It doesn't prohibit, our existing ordinance doesn't prohibit people putting their trash in someone else's trash can or feces or whatever
Okay.
it happens to be. So whether we address that in this ordinance or an amendment to the trash ordinance is something else. But I will say this, it's interesting, Maury came and made the comment she had. I've had comments from several people about the same thing. My neighbor, Pal Jones, says the first thing he does when he gets into town is to go, the very first trip always to his trash can is removing a bunch of people's dog feces from his trash can, because he can't put his first load of trash in without it, which is just nasty.
Yeah, we have heard more complaints, I would say, about this in the last 2 weeks, I think, than the entire year previously that I've been here. And I also think that it would be worth me reaching out to both the college and the MRA to send out communications to conferees, students, that's just not,
Yeah.
acceptable, and make sure that the word's really getting spread around that it's becoming a problem.
I think that's don't realize if you're coming from out of town, they don't realize that if it's not in a big bag, it's not coming out. They think, oh, I'm just throwing it in with that's for the trash, like it gets picked up and dumped into a dump truck.
Yeah.
But if they don't live here, they don't necessarily know that that's not how it's working. So yeah, some sort of a communication I think would be a good idea.
I have a question in general is, how does sanitation handle picking up and cleaning out the receptacles? Or do they?
Well, I know that, Barry, I'm just gonna let you answer that, come on.
Drew usually goes around every Thursday and empties all of the feces receptacles or whatever you want to call them there. But, and, you know, I think a lot of things that's going to help hedge some of this in people's trash cans and stuff is they need, you know, some sort of containers at trailheads. That's going to help a lot because a lot of people come up here to walk and hike. If you had, you know, if there was places to put them, you know, maybe they'd use them instead of everybody's trash cans and stuff.
Now, if you know, I know that the area in the base of Montreat is pretty well covered. They're numerous, but like on South Carolina, there's a lot of just leaving things. Is there ever an option for somebody local to buy one and place it there, or would it just cause extra work for you all?
I mean, it could get out of control, but you know, as long as we kept it kind of orderly, we might could handle, you know, him taking some time going around and doing it every Thursday. Right now, the minimum I can get on them cans is about $350 is what they're costing us right now.
Okay.
And that's, you know, that's about what folks could probably do. I mean, I'm not buying all the hardware to put them up on their posts and everything, but, you know, trying to minimize our cost. But yeah, folks could do it and put it out, and if they bagged it and got it in a bag and then put it in their trash, it's quicker for our guys to get it, because basically, when they reach in and they grab a bag of trash, if it falls down, it's considered loose trash, and we keep moving. So it's, you know, if they could bag it up, it'd be a whole lot quicker and easier for everybody, I think.
Any other questions of Barry? Thanks, Barry. Any other comments? Tom?
I think you did a great job on that, even if you borrowed it from someone else.
It's okay.
That's great. Just a couple comments. There might be an easier way to word item C, and I can, it looks like there's a double negative in there, and we can talk about that. But under D, the violations, you know, we have a lot of folks who don't know about our town and even our rules. What if we, on the first offense, gave a verbal warning? And then the second would be the $50 and all the way up to the fifth. And we ought to add fifth and subsequent, because if we just say fifth, then they get their $250 fine for the 5 times they've done it, and the 6th time is free.
Tom, I think verbal warnings sound really good, but what I found from the trash is we had to do away with them because otherwise it was impossible to document whoever gave a verbal warning to whomever where. No documentation and ever recorded a verbal warning for a trash violation. So we had to, at least in some places, do away with it. We were trying to deal with it. So I just would caution. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with it, at least starting out. We can see, but if it may not make a difference one way or the other because frankly, we're not going to be issuing too many citations, but at least if people know it's against the law, they'll tend to.
You make a good point, and I understand what you're saying. We're going to have an enforcement issue anyway. I mean, we got one police officer.
No, I know. That's what I said. It's not a big deal because we're probably not going to enforce this. So I picked up just what you're saying. But in theory, it is what it is.
That's what I was concerned about, was the enforcement. I just imagined a community poop patrol, but.
It is going to be difficult to enforce. It is going to be difficult to enforce, but I think what it will do is most people want to follow the law, most people want to follow the rules, and I think if we can have good communication about this is now in our ordinance, there is a consequence, I do think that will help.
We had some cards or stickers made up for the bear issue a couple of years ago, right? Could we have some stickers made up on the trash can so that if somebody see like,
Actually, I think that's
don't
a
throw
very
your
good
poop
idea.
bag in here because it's not going to get dumped out. Some way of communicating that to people because it's, I think if they see it, maybe they'll pause.
Maybe a magnet or something that would stick to those metal bear-proof bins. Yeah, that's something worth exploring, I think.
I think we keep trying to legislate morality, and you can't do that. So I think we all should appeal to people's decency, and maybe the magnets are a good idea.
Educate.
So we need to educate, because I know people do think that if they throw it in there, it's going to get picked up.
I think that's the majority of it. They don't know how our trash process works. Hopefully, that's the majority of it.
The only other thing is, if you're going to add something about throwing the poop bags in somebody else's trash can, you ought to probably address the abandoned poop bags as well.
Yeah, good idea. We'll do that. Okay, so I'll work on expanding this a little bit, tweaking it, and then we'll see it again.
Okay, 2 comments. Last month on Thursday, Daniel was picking up waste on Assembly Drive when I stopped and asked him what he was doing. And he came up to my car and said, "Mayor, there is no lack of dog waste in Montreat." He was emptying all the things. The other one is, the worst I used to get in my bear-proof garbage can was, or container, was an empty Coke can or a potato chip wrapper or something like that. I now have 2 giant fake black spiders hanging from the lid on my garbage can so that when you open them up, I can listen for the screams and I know that somebody's in my garbage up there. The bears don't scream. They can't get in it.
Put a rubber snake in there, maybe. Yeah.
I don't know what's next. I'm going to have to start locking it probably.
I'd come in under commissioner comments.
Okay. All right. We pulled the internal control policy until next month. Order of collection. Savannah?
Yes, this is a formality. So our finance officer, Rachel, she is our tax collector. Last year, we had to appoint someone. She took the oath of office and is our official tax collector. But this is just a formality where this information is supposed to be presented to you each year at the end of the fiscal year. So you'll have the tax information. This all came from Buncombe County. Jennifer Pike is the awesome tax collector there. She does a great job. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer it. But really, it's just information more than anything.
Do I have a motion?
Yeah, it's all required by state statute that we appoint Rachel. We have to do it, so if we want the county to collect our taxes for it. So I'm going to move approval.
I have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Blake. I have a second.
Second?
I have a second from Commissioner Alexander. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes carry. Land care update on Flat Creek Crossing. Land care representative.
I'm Jean Norris, the Secretary Bookkeeper for the Flat Creek Crossing Steering Committee, and I'm about to present to you something that we prepared for another event, but it seemed like it was relevant here too. So Josh is going to load the slides. There we go. Whew, a little nervous, sorry. This is our financial status as of July 31st, 2024. And we were responding to a number of questions that donors had. What are we paying for? Where do we stand? How much is in the bank? Where does it come from? Is there a timeline? What happens if we do or don't get grants? And how confident are we in what's next? So 2 slides. Okay, this is a refresher for a lot of you because you've been with us along the way. What we are building, we have been calling an accessible trail. But we have many park-like amenities, picnic tables, a sensory garden, a welcome center, a designated parking space, and a crosswalk, and handrails, and curbs, and so forth. So by the time we're done with all of that build-out and the quality of the design and allowing for management expenses and contingency plans and so forth, which each of our prospective donors has required of us to look at again, our total budget estimate currently is $357,526. And that includes probably enough for the educational and digital resources that we think are crucial to the concept of the project. And it does include some money for maintenance, routine maintenance, major maintenance. We don't know what major maintenance will be, but we do have some money allowed, and it is possible to seek grant funding for long-term maintenance. Okay, so what are we paying for? We think the design for the site is excellent, and it is specific to that site. There's been a lot of research gone into ADA requirements for the basic legal requirements. And then there's another level that we learned about in our proposal research process, and that's maximum access. Without knowing about that term, we were designing for maximum access, and that's where continuous handrails come in and curbs on the trails and so forth. So the estimates for the budget are from multiple sources and a range of materials, and the time that I've spent sitting with April Carter, the designer, I'm convinced that we couldn't have had a better person working on this. For every question, she has 7 answers. And we're building for durable construction. Partly this is required of us if we're accepting any federal or state money. They want to know that a project will be open to the public and functional for a minimum of 25 years. And that includes lasting through the weather and the occasional high water events, because we know we're building right on the edge of a creek where we know that the water has risen in our memory. And it includes planning and project management and contingencies and cost of living inflation and the educational and digital resources that are essential to the vision. Okay, where's the money coming from? We have raised to date about $94,000. We're actually a skosh above that since I wrote this. Donations from the first $5,000 foundation seed money grant is the bulk of it. We have been selling art prints and cards, and we have received donations of proceeds from the sale of antique postcards, and we've had a few cash jars at our public relations events. We've also spent money on the initial site survey, design renderings, public relations and fundraising, which is required with some grants, printed materials, and our net on hand, live money on hand, is a little bit more than $75,000, and that does not include pledged funds. We have more money promised that's coming in. So obviously, to get to that budget total, we have to have grant funding. And we interpreted the council's charge when you approved the project that we were to raise the money, that we were to go out and do it. So we've been working on it. Grant proposals. We've learned things along the way. We had to find our choices, and then we had to deal with them. So you're probably aware that we applied for 2 grants that we did not get. The first was the Environmental Enhancement Grant. We applied for the small grant, $50,000. We realized in that process that we needed a lot more money than that. And the reasons, we had one reason given that we could make sense of from the comments, and that was that our budget was unrealistic. They didn't tell us whether they thought it was high or it was low. We think it's a good budget. It's as good as we can do. But one commenter said, this looks like a Pigeon River Fund project. So then we had someone whisper in our ear that Western North Carolina Community Fund had some grant money available. So we applied for the Black Mountain Swannanoa Valley Endowment Grant for $10,000. And we thought that would be nice starter money on a match for other grants. And we didn't get it. And the reason that we were given was that they talked about it for a long time. They know us, we're local. They probably wanted to give us the money, but they were oversubscribed with requests, and $10,000 wasn't going to break our project if we didn't have it. As a matter of fact, we had also applied for the Pigeon River Fund grant, and we asked for $34,065 because we didn't think it was entirely polite to ask for the maximum of $35,000. And they gave us exactly what we asked for. And they sent the money to the bank. Now, there will be reports that we will have to make along the way as to how we spent that money, but they actually gave us the money up front. So that becomes matching money for subsequent grants. And with that, that's about half of the cost of what we said we would do with that money, and that is to prepare the banks above the proposed trail and below the proposed trail. It is not for the trail itself. It takes more money to do that. But all of that prep work will help to correct water flow and prepare the spaces for further development work. That work is scheduled to begin. We told them August 1st. We're not quite going to make August 1st, but it begins this fall and it goes through next spring. If we had to stop there, we will still have done good work on the site. We hope we don't have to stop. All right, the other grant that we have applied for is the Accessible Parks Grant from North Carolina Division of Parks and Recreation. And this required a good deal of town input, so Savannah has been working with us with that. And it's for $272,000. In that process, we learned that we are not building a trail because a trail has to be 1/4 mile long. We have only 300 feet. But the person we were working with pointed out to us that the other things we're talking about, they sound like a park. The name of the grant is Accessible Parks Grant, so that was helpful. For that, we will need a local match of about $85,000, and that will include nominally the Pigeon River Fund money, even though we know that's already spent on previous work. So that leaves us fundraising for the rest of the match, and we set a fundraising target of $50,000. When we learned that we needed a little bit more than that, we stayed with the $50,000 because it was a nice message. Report to come. Buncombe County Tourism Development Fund is it's a 2-part grant process. And in your packets tonight, you are able to see our first part of that. And it will pay for the trail, the picnic area, which means get the tables and the benches in. And if we had that and only that, we would need a local match of $67,766, some of which we have. Okay. All right, Flat Creek Crossing donations. We have had up to July 31st, 114 donations, 81 giving units. Some families donated multiple times. And that's Montreat residents, summer folks, outside Montreat people, Black Mountain people have given a number of them. A lot of Black Mountain people use that area in particular. We've had a few foundations and we've had church donations. And we have some pledges, some promises of future funding. So our real target match for the Accessible Parks Grant, $54,400. We have, as of July 31st, $56,500 promised, $45,000 of that in hand, and the APG funding decision is August 23rd. Okay, so what's next? We already have the special use permit. 3 more permits are now in process. We definitely intend to begin moving rocks and dirt this fall. We need to work out how we're going to keep track of multiple funding sources so that we bill the right people at the right time and know who paid for what. There will be periodic invoicing, partial reimbursements, a lot of stuff to track. All right, and we plan to continue construction once we start this fall as far as the funds will reach. If we only have enough to do Pigeon River Fund, that's what we'll do, and we'll have to stop. We hope we don't have to stop. We're going to continue public outreach and fundraising. We're going to develop plans and a budget for the educational and digital resources portion. And it's hard to know what that is going to cost us. We don't know how much of it might be donated by people who want to participate. We don't know how the systems may change over the course of 25 years. But we will come up with a plan at least for how to begin. And we will seek whatever funding it looks like we need for the maintenance, and that includes the physical project and the educational and digital resources. Okay, so here are our invitations to the town council. If you have not already, please visit the site. I think you're going to love it. Tell your friends and neighbors about the project, especially if they might also donate or pledge. Join the Trailblazers. Watch for a chance to attend informational events, grant award announcements, and sweat equity workdays. And we're going to have a watch party for the big grant decision on August 23rd. We're not sure what time yet, but we're promised we will have word about that. And we're hoping we could actually have that right in the town hall. Cool. And we are going to have a ceremonial groundbreaking on September 4th at 4 p.m. We will invite press. We will not try to make it a huge crowd because we're not sure that those permits are actually going to be all signed, sealed, and delivered by then. And we have promised, we have been told and we have promised that we will not move any dirt until we have all those permits. Okay. I guess I could entertain questions now.
Any questions for Jean from anybody?
I just want to thank Jean for all of her hard work. The whole group has been working so hard, particularly on these grant applications. That's not easy to do, and they've really done a great job. And you'll notice that there's a motion to approve their submission of the Phase 2 County Tourism Development Fund grant proposal. So after you ask Jean any questions you have, we can move on that.
Questions of Jean? Comments?
You really have done a great job, and the professionalism of those grant proposals is incredible. So thank you, and I know you and Patty have worked hard, along with others as well, on that. Question, it almost sounded like you said at some point, you're gonna have to pull the plug if you don't get all the money. Is that the case, that you have a deadline that you've got to meet, or can it just keep going on until you get the funds.
It would be heartbreaking if we had to continue doing this for many years. It would be awful. But what we have promised to do with the Pigeon River Fund money is get those banks ready above and below the trail. That we have the money to do. And when I say we'll keep going, if we have accessible parks money in the amount that we asked for, we will be able to keep going on through to next year and build out the trail and the welcome center and the parking spot and everything that we have proposed in the plan for the physical structure. And we also have some funds in there that are allowed for the beginning of the online resources as well. So our worst case scenario would be that nobody else gives us any more money than our donations. If we actually had to match, if we had to pay for the whole thing with donations, it would take forever. If we actually had to go with a one-to-one grant for the entire rest of the amount, there are a couple other grants out there that we could apply for, then that would leave us raising $150,000. Our town is generous, and the people who've already donated really want to see this built, but that is a big ask and a big reach, and I hope we're not in that position. I hope we actually have the funds coming in to do it with grant money.
Thank you, Jane. Any other questions of Gene or comments?
It's an incredible amount of work. I wonder if you knew this when you started, how hard it was going to be.
I have lived in grant organizations and I have written grants before, but every single one of us came into this with 2 or maybe 3 successful careers behind us. I think everything we ever learned, we have used, and we've had to learn new stuff.
Well, thanks to each and every one of you.
Gene, thanks so much to you and Patty and Eric and Gracie and all the other members of the committee and all the hard work y'all have done. We do appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Need a motion on the submission of Phase 2 County Tourism Development Fund grant proposal.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the submission of the Phase 2 County Tourism Development Fund grant proposal.
Commissioner Whitmer has made a motion. Do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Fouché. Any comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Floor is open for any public comment. Seeing no one, dates to remote. Commissioner communication.
Yes, I'd like, as I mentioned earlier, over the 4th of July weekend, a 4 or 5 day period, one of the reasons I found out about Pal Jones' problem with people dumping feces in his trash can is he was out there one morning helping me clean up our trash outside that was dumped on the road and down the hill. He was nice enough to be out there helping. Actually, it wasn't my trash, though. It was 2 other families' trash. And you could recognize it. One was sort of upscale. They had wine, very fancy paper plates, very fancy diapers, plastic diapers. The other was sort of the Laura Lynn crowd. But I had both of their trash cans, because they had not only had ridden by and put their trash in my can, they hadn't latched it. They had just dumped it. And guess who came and got it and spread it all over creation? And so that's how I met Powell one morning. That happened to me several times. And as you might imagine, I then took a look at our ordinance and said, can people do this without me? Well, actually, I wrote a really nasty note on my can, but after also tying it shut because I couldn't make a hasp work yet, threatening them, but I didn't really have anything to threaten when I looked at the ordinance. There's nothing that prohibits somebody coming by and putting their trash in your can. This wasn't just me on my road, by the way. This was a couple of other cans. And so we're now all putting hasp on our cans, as the mayor is going to have to do now. But, and I appreciate that most people are law-abiding and think they're doing the right thing, but these people were not nice people. You just don't do that. And not only that, they were sloppy and they were totally unthoughtful. And so it ought to be against the law. So I know we don't like to pass new things that are against the law here, but I'm intending to put together something that imposes a penalty on someone when instead of coming down here and putting their trash in the convenience center, which is open and available to do so, they put it in someone else's property and someone else's kingdom. And we'll see where that goes, but I'll be coming back to you with it.
Amy said it was not only a note, it was a dissertation that he put on the garbage can. Other commissioners' comments?
At 6:30 in the morning, I'm out there.
I just wanted to let everybody know that we have an anniversary to celebrate. Savannah has been with us a year. And we thank you for the great job that you've done and continue to do.
Mayor, can I mention one other thing? I'd like to thank, our interim chief, Tim Bradley, has just done a terrific job, and we're very grateful. And I want to particularly thank him for a citation being issued for the violation of our hunting dog ordinance that happened back in April, that the police chief said, our former police chief said, well, we don't have a rule against that. The citation was issued, and I really do thank you. And it's about time we started enforcing those prohibitions of bear dogs running through our residential neighborhoods.
Kitty, Grant?
I can't follow that.
I've got nothing.
Jane, do you have anything?
Good.
Okay. No one else? I'll cover the dates to remember. Hillside Development Ordinance Subcommittee meets Wednesday, August the 14th here at Town Hall. Tree Board Tuesday, August 27th, 9:30, Town Hall. Town offices are closed in observance of Labor Day, Monday, September the 2nd. Sanitation will resume on Tuesday the 3rd. Land Care Wednesday, September the 4th, 9 a.m., Town Hall. September Town Council meeting Thursday the 12th at 6 p.m. Town Hall, the Zoom options available. At 5:30, we'll meet at have the forum meeting. Special Planning and Zoning Commission meeting tentatively set for Thursday, September the 19th at 10:30 in Town Hall. Planning and Zoning Subcommittee meeting Thursday, the 19th of September, 1 p.m. Town Hall. Tree Board Tuesday, September the 24th, 9:30 Town Hall with Zoom options. And Hillside Development Ordinance Subcommittee Wednesday, September the 25th, 9 a.m. in Town Hall. Y'all can see that we couldn't get along without all the volunteers and all the people who serve on all these committees and all the hard work they do, and makes our job a lot easier. Commissioners, was there something on the back I missed? I did. I missed one on the back. Board of Adjustment, tentative Thursday, September the 26th, 5 p.m. Town Hall. Most of these are available with Zoom options. Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Have a motion from Commissioner Fouché to adjourn. Do I have a second? Jane second. I'm sorry, Jane, you're so quiet. Commissioner Alexander second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those who want to stay here later?
Have fun.
None. Okay. We stand adjourned.